Welcome to Agents Uncovered, where we dive beneath the surface of the agent and learn about their journey, hurdles, and insights. Spoken directly from real estate agents that we can all relate with. We don't focus on the top 1% like every other industry podcast. Instead, we're here to deliver insightful content that we can all relate to and get value from. Whether you're new to the industry, pursuing a passion, or have recently embarked on your journey within real estate, Agents Uncovered will undoubtedly inform, educate, and entertain. Subscribe now and follow Real Estate Training Australia for more content.
Welcome to Agents Uncovered. Today we'll be speaking with Adam Grbcic from Colossian on the Gold Coast. Adam joined the industry in 2011 and was a top 3 finalist for the 2022 REA Queensland Commercial Agent. Listen to hear Adam's keys to success and what it takes to be a standout commercial agent.
Welcome, Adam. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Matt.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, long
What's
time.
it been, 10 years?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Just Dad's not in the room. Who's the better agent, you or Dad?
No comment. No, we both got very different skills that complement each other.
There you go.
Yeah.
A very diplomatic
Yeah.
answer. So, although we're interviewing Adam, it's really important to acknowledge that Adam's dad, Tony, has been in the industry for over 20 years. Very experienced.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, over 40 years.
short change in 20 years. 40 years.
Yeah.
So, fair to say that real estate has been in and around you since the womb.
Yeah.
What's that like growing up in a real estate family? Did that impact on your decision to be an agent?
No, I wouldn't say originally. I think it was just normal because I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
Dad worked 7 days a week.
Yeah.
We lived in South Africa, so real estate there had different culture in its own sense. But my first goal was to go into property and do property valuation and then maybe find a channel from there. However, I ended up getting a PA role with Dad after 2 years, and that's sort of just by default, and that was in 2011.
So, growing up though, being around real estate, you developed a love for property, or what was that? What you say that you wanted to be a valuer, so you knew you wanted to be in the real estate industry. Is that the case?
I was always just very good with numbers,
Yep.
so I wanted to do something numbers orientated,
Yep.
which led me to valuation.
Yep.
And I would say the only time, well, not the only time, a lot of the time I spent with my father because he worked all weekends were at properties, and so I think it was just organic that I did like real estate. I just didn't know any different.
Yeah. That's that transition.
Yeah.
So I guess the jump fast forward, we're now a valuer and we're somewhat in the industry.
Yeah.
There's some higher learning to get you to that stage.
Yeah.
You have an understanding of the real estate industry from Dad growing up, but you're a valuer, and we mentioned off air that very quickly you come and understood that valuation wasn't really where you wanted to be, that you wanted to be in that commercial world. Was it the case of you wanted the negotiation, you wanted to actually be hands-on because you'd seen your dad do it, or was it the valuation enough of just understanding property wasn't enough?
Probably two answers. Valuation. I've always had a very high work ethic, and in valuation for those 2 years, no matter how hard you worked, I found that it was there was a capacity to what you could earn and get rewarded for how hard you worked.
Yeah.
And so that was stage one. But then stage two, towards the end of that 2 years, I started identifying, because I only did commercial valuations, I was able to identify scenarios where properties were undervalued, where the value add was, what a weak lease was, and so all those metrics that are relevant for commercial real estate, rather than doing it in reports, I could give that advice to future clients. And that was really my main focus for the first couple of years, was just to be a source of advice.
So the transition into being a PA with Dad.
Yeah.
So the skills component of it was on the job, I'm assuming, with Dad. Or did you actually already, I mean, you mentioned a little bit there, but did you feel that you already had the skills to actually transition into being an agent?
No, by no means. So the main reason I worked under Dad as, I call it a PA, but we had an independent office, just the two of us. Yep. So I did everything up until the point that the property went online and then Dad handled it. I was only 21, 22, dealing with commercial property owners who were sophisticated. I was at an age, and I still look young, so I was at an age where
you're only 25.
33. So it's, I just think that, and it was really, I think I did it the correct way. I really ensure I understood the fundamentals and had the confidence before I started brokering deals. And even when I did, I started leasing small factories, and it was a very slow progression to today. There's by no means would I have been able to sell the Voyager for 45 million at 33, nor would I even get a call in. So it was really, to get to where I am today, is a 10-year apprenticeship.
Yeah. And the training for what you were doing at that stage, so small in-house, I'm assuming no front desk, you were answering the phones, yep. You were doing everything from contract preparation to, diagram preparation.
Yeah.
The valuation training, did that apply? Were you doing valuations on the properties as part of the process? Or?
Yeah, so pull it back to the appraisal stage, and I think that helped me a lot, because my appraisals versus competitors' appraisals were chalk and cheese, and they actually had a proper methodology behind it, and there was factual evidence where, a lot of the time when you start, because you lack that confidence, it's 3 lines saying your property's worth X, and you haven't explained why.
So you're giving that greater depth, definition and depth of actually what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's how I earned some really strong relationships early on.
Yeah. And Dad obviously doing a lot of the training at that point. You obviously did your bachelor's to do the valuation, but was there any other external sources of training that got you to that next step, or was it all sort of done in-house?
No, I signed up to several online real estate schools, I would say, or further education in real estate. But when it came to listing and selling, my father taught me everything. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you mentioned about very quickly establishing yourself in terms of clients' eyes, and they understood the benefit of working with you from the information that you were giving them. Now, I would imagine that you're dealing with a pretty diverse group of characters in terms of the commercial world, particularly on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
What does that look like as a 22, 21-year-old when you're just learning your chops and you're going out there and trying to get listings and you're trying to navigate personality types?
I see. I again, 2 answers. The relationship building, I never asked for business. I offered assistance. I offered to have a look at leases, see where there was value add, and I did that all for relationship purposes. When it came to first looking for my own business, I focused on the low-hanging fruit, which is open listing, leasing properties, and just as many leasing listings as I could take on, because there wasn't that barrier to entry for an open listing leasing property.
Yep.
So I think that's it wasn't as intimidating as a youngster, because there were already 3 agents on it, and I just worked harder than the other 3.
And I suppose with the leasing, then you're developing the relationship with the owner, so that down the track when the time came to actually have that conversation around sale, you've already earned the rapport and you've got the trust.
Yeah, and it comes down to how clean your database is, because every 1, 3, 5 plus year lease I did, I had a regular follow-up process 6, 3, 2 months out of the expiry to make sure that I regained the business, and then those open listings became exclusive listings because they already knew who I was, and then it just progressed from there.
So did you develop a patch that you focused upon, or was it simply just a case of that you looked at the entire Gold Coast was essentially your marketplace?
No, to start off with, it's really important to have a area, because then you can multiple inquiries, you can service with multiple options, rather than have a property in Tweed that doesn't suit someone and then drive all the way to Burleigh and then drive all the way to Southport. It's not efficient use of time. So I had Southport CBD retail as my core focus, and then I progressed to doing Burleigh industrial leasing as another core focus. So I focused on those 2 areas originally. Yeah.
Was that with input from Dad? He said, "Look, I think this is probably the best way for you to get started," or was that something that you identified that this is probably the best way for me to get going, start with the leasing and go?
No, at that age, Tony was giving me a lot of advice, and his main advice was get your name on as many signs as possible.
Yeah.
And that was my only goal for the first 3 years, after I had progressed from the more PA side of things.
And you mentioned database. I mean, database gets bastardised, I think, in this current marketplace. I think client list is probably a better or a more apt choice of words for it. At that stage in developing your contact list of clients you were working with, how did that progress? How quickly did that progress? Was it a case of you going out there and growing it, so the more energy you put into it, the stronger it got? Or was it a case where you were patient around building slowly and building quality?
No, I had KPIs to have new names, numbers, and email addresses every week to build that data up. So in commercial it's different. We don't have the luxury of someone's residential house having a registered phone number. So it's an expensive process. You have to invest in company searches. They don't always have the right details on it to extract the owners. So there was a lot of writing letters if you didn't get hold of them, and just almost detective work to find people's data. So yeah, it was a slow, long burn to build the data.
And in this market right now, as we stand today, contact list of what size are we talking?
In terms of constant contact and close clients, probably between 400 and 600. The database obviously is much larger than that, but I would say that we've got 400 to 600 owners that we're in touch with on an annual basis regularly.
It's a really important distinction that you've just made there, which I think a lot of agents get wrong, in that they go for numbers and think that I've got this great number, 10,000, 4,000, 6,000. The reality is if you service 400 people really, really well, you can develop a business out of that.
Yeah, I don't think you can do too many more than that. I think anything more than 400 to 600, you're probably spamming them and you're probably not giving any value. Yeah.
And your communication pattern, I'm imagining that they're all current property owners. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
So you're doing multiple transactions with those people over the duration of your career?
Yeah, because in commercial you'll find that several people own multiple commercial properties. So one owner might have, if you've got a relationship with one owner, that might allow you to have access to 10 properties, because it's a multiple owner industry.
And I guess the follow-up to that is in understanding that those owners, working with those owners to develop future purchases. I mean, I'm assuming your communication pattern with them is actually really good, and your understanding of what their 12, 24 to 36-month cycles looking like in terms of are we going to purchase, are we going to sell?
Yeah.
You're constantly on the look for them in both respects.
Yeah, I'm a bit different. The only reason I contact someone is to offer them value, not to ask for business. I'll ask them, I'll present an opportunity to them, and I'll identify things or key core pieces of information they may not be aware of, just to keep them updated. If someone wants to sell, they will come to the agent of choice. I don't think in commercials different because of the life cycle someone owns a property for.
Yeah.
It's, I'm not sure of the metrics for residential where it's 3 or 5, 6 years. It's commercial could be 10, 15, 20 years, because the purpose of that property is generally cash flow, and they generally want to own it in perpetuity. So that asking for business every year for 20 years, that the relationship is based on you just wanting something. Whereas if you just give good information constantly, when the time is right, they will come to you.
So I'm assuming the valuation background plays a huge role there in being able to give really good, yearly reports around where the market's at and how their property's performing.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be, or it doesn't have to be that, or based solely on numbers and metrics. There's so many things happening on the Gold Coast, infrastructure projects, DAs being approved, and if you're just aware of what's happening, your client might not know what impact the Gold Coast Highway is going to have on their property during the next 3 years of construction for the light rail, but being the first person to bring that information to their attention, they appreciate that.
A lot of the questions I have, I've actually had to change. So I'm flying blind a little bit here, but that's all right. We'll still soldier on. Fast track in our Colossi.
Yeah.
Just you and your dad in the commercial sector.
We have a team of 4 and soon to be 5. Yeah.
Wonderful. So somewhat different in many respects to a lot of the agencies that you'll see around Australia and certainly on the Gold Coast, in that you are the face of commercial real estate for the Colossi brand.
Yeah.
Obviously by design. This was an agency that you saw out, or did they approach you? What did that look like?
It was mutual. Yeah. It was just a set of situations that aligned us. It would just happen to be. Yeah. Yeah. We weren't actively seeking it, but we did catch up and saw the future and the foresight that Colossi had. And it was, years beyond a traditional franchise.
And I guess from an outside in, I'm fascinated by the way that Michael's set up the agency, and obviously having the benefit of being able of working with Michael years ago, I've seen what he has taken from his agent years and then applied that to agency. I'm curious about the attraction for you, and I think as an outside in, of working with prestige high net worth clients and almost having a pool of potential opportunities for your clients.
Yeah.
Being that, your dad and yourself and the team being the only real competition in terms of you're not competing with other agents like you had in the past.
Yeah.
And almost having a one-to-one basis with, the core of the agents within the business.
Yeah.
Do you find that they are coming to you with opportunities that potentially, or maybe in the past would have been a pure residential, and they're looking at it as a collaborative effect and saying, look, there's some commercial applications to this, come on board, Adam?
Well, there's a very distinct line in the sand at this office that if you are a residential salesman, you sell residential. If you're commercial, you sell commercial. So there's no co-working on properties, because the philosophy is we always act in the best interest of the client. And although you may have a very good relationship with Mr. Smith, who owns a service station, and you're a residential agent, you have no skill set to service them correctly. So you get your cut and the Grbcics will look after them. So whereas in other offices and in a commission only environment, people will hold on to that opportunity because it's still a big commission. But the philosophy, overarching philosophy, is what is in the best interest of that vendor and how will they achieve the best result.
And so on the back of that, do you find that you have situations where the resi agents will come to you and say, Adam, this is a situation over here, could you step in and apply your expertise?
Yeah. And the same respect backwards from us, because a lot of our clients come to us because of our relationships, and then we will ensure that we refer them to the best person to deal with them. Yeah.
So essentially everyone stays in their lane.
Yeah, there will be certain properties that there could be a mix. That we had a double block on Jefferson Lane that could have been a housestead. It was approved for a 12-story building, and we co-listed that with Troy Dowker being the specialist in that precinct. And it all works out in the wash, even though it was a 50-50 split of commission. It was the best thing to do for that particular vendor.
I've got a statement. I'll read a statement to you, and I'm looking for a response.
Okay.
So, working in a high-performance culture can be uplifting and inspiring, but comparison is often the thief of joy, and too much competition can lead to burnout and jealousy. Would you agree?
I'll tell you a story. I came to Colossi 3 years ago. And in our office, I'll show you in a second that we're very big on transparency. So everybody's results are on the board. We've got 6 TV screens, how many calls people have made, how many appraisals, how many listings, how many properties sold, what people's GCI is. And my first day at Colossi, the month GCI that the top 3 agents had done was probably double that of my previous whole financial year. And it wasn't a jealousy, fear, none of those things. It was, well, look what's possible. Yeah. Let's grind. And being in that environment, our business doubled the first year, doubled the second year, and doubled the third year. So we went from being comfortable because we got a little badge at the last office saying you've done very well. That badge wouldn't get you a job at this office.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. So I think it's our office doesn't attract people that have those attributes because of someone else's success.
So on the back of that, then, you mentioned grind, and grind can take on many different ways, faces, etc. What does grind look like for you? You mentioned you've come in here and you've seen what's possible.
Yeah.
So what steps did you take to elevate your business?
Well, first year was grind would be just pure persistence, effort, and hard work. I then realized that it's not sustainable to do 7 days a week, 10 hours a day or 11 hours a day. Year two, we invested in getting assistants to offload what we call non-dollar productive tasks and put those aside.
So just quickly, when you came across just you and Dad,
Yep.
no support staff at that point?
We had a PA,
Yep.
but we now have a business manager,
Yep.
which is more than a PA. So we went from having a PA that would just do your general administration tasks to a business manager now who books, runs absolutely everything in terms of the process from listing to going online. And then in year three, because obviously you free up time, you work harder, your earning capacities grow more. We then got assistance in terms of a sales associate. And now we will have a second sales associate to come on just so we can keep up with the volume of work and keep a balance of life.
So that model and that changing mindset, was that done through mentorship internally or externally? Did someone come into your business and say, hey, let's look at this? Did you outsource and go, okay, how can we get better?
Michael Grbcic is very good at helping with business plans. And he has what he calls a super team of 5. And that's, in his view, the perfect size. I don't want to say what sort of volume he writes, but if 5 people can do that much, it's I don't think you need any more.
So that created a blueprint for you. So by understanding better where you wanted to get to, and then by actually having the experience within the room to go, okay, let's join the dots, you went, okay, let's just do it.
Yeah, Grbcic's got a very good philosophy that I'll share. It's called swim lanes. So every financial year we sit down with our team and have specific lanes which we outline every step in every process, and we allocate it to that person. If it is in your swim lane, that's what you do, but you stick to your swim lane, because in the past what happens, especially with a personality like mine, I very much want to just do everything. I stick to my swim lane, Tony sticks to his swim lane, our EA sticks to her swim lane, and the sales associate's got his job. So we all know what we're doing and we're not overwhelmed with 1,000 tasks which are all separate from each other.
And then it just becomes scale. Scale becomes easy.
Yeah, just add a swim lane. And so then, you might take a few of your tasks out, put them into the new swim lane, and then you've got a new role. So that's how we build our team out.
So on the basis of that, rookie or experienced person, so depending upon the lane, I'm assuming that you have a fair amount of input, as does Tony, into who you're hiring. But a rookie or an experienced person for those swim lanes, what would you look at?
Our most recent role that we filled, we went for a rookie because a lot of the time an experienced agent wants to list and sell by themselves too quickly, and it is really our average sale point is 4.5 million, so we can't allow that to happen within our team. So we need someone who is prepared to earn their stripes, and also it is easier to teach someone good habits than change bad habits.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Challenges. So we've just come off an incredible cycle.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that it was no different for commercial than it was for residential.
Yeah.
Next 12 months, where do you see the market going, and what steps are you taking now to offset that?
The most important thing in commercial the next 12 months is to be in touch with people that you know well, because the environment is changing. Obviously, interest rates are going to go up, and most people will have one of two options: reposition the asset to weather these high interest rate environments, or dispose of the asset. But before doing that, what can they do to maximize their value? So the next 12 months is very important to have sound advice to everyone. I don't think that our market is going to be as soft as most people think, because there's still a lot of money out there. And I think commercial will still perform relatively well. Obviously, just our cap rates are going to go up slightly.
So have you changed your business model as a result of where you see the market going, or is it just more?
No, our biggest change is to move away from certain size development sites and focus on more boutique sites. We'll be very selective on which development sites we take on. I think any site that's got a build time of over 12 to 18 months will be a difficult site to sell. So that's how we look at it, because of the environment in the building industry.
Mate, I know you've got a busy day, so I will try to wrap it up now. But just before we let you go, we'd also love to come back in the future, because there's a couple of things there that you touched on I want to dig into a bit more depth. But before you go, 3 pieces of advice to someone entering the industry as a rookie.
Join a team, obviously. That might be an easy one. Be patient, and be patient and don't rush. I think that if someone's entering the industry, I wouldn't anticipate being a listing and selling agent for 2 years. I think that it's the barrier of entry to real estate is low, but the knowledge you learn from there takes time. And the final one would be is just to be mindful of balance. Work-life balance. I don't think for the first 2 years. I think you need to work very hard, but I think once you start becoming established, you need to be able to program in set breaks, because there's very few people in this industry who can perform at the level they do 365 days a year.
Where are the awards?
Next month.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.